Nike sells shoes, so does Adidas, so does Puma, so does New Balance. And in many cases, the differences between those shoes aren't big enough to explain the difference in how people feel about them. Because when someone puts on a pair of Nikes, they're not just buying rubber, foam, and fabric. They're buying an idea that says, just do it. 3 words that somehow became bigger than shoes. So how did Nike turn a simple swoosh into one of the most powerful symbols in the world? And more importantly, how did Nike convince millions of ordinary people to see themselves as athletes? Today, we're decoding Nike. Nike was founded as Blue Ribbon Sports in 1964 by Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman. At first, the business wasn't some cultural powerhouse. It sold running shoes. And when the company eventually became Nike, the product still seemed obvious: shoes. But Nike would eventually understand something much bigger. If you're selling running shoes based purely on specifications, you're competing on cushioning, weight, materials, durability, and price. Someone can always make a lighter shoe. Someone can make a cheaper one. Someone can copy the technology, but there's something much harder to copy: meaning. Nike gradually stopped making the shoe the hero. Instead, it made the person wearing the shoe the hero. And that changed everything. Look at Nike's logo. There's almost nothing there. No shoe, no athlete, no letter N, just a curved mark. The swoosh was created in 1971 by graphic design student Carolyn Davidson. Phil Knight famously wasn't immediately in love with it, but the symbol had something important: movement, speed, forward motion. Over time, Nike poured so much meaning into that simple shape that eventually, the company didn't even need to write Nike beside it. You see the swoosh, you know. But here's the important part. A logo doesn't become iconic because it's beautifully designed. It becomes iconic because of everything the brand repeatedly attaches to it. And Nike attached something incredibly powerful to theirs. Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James, Tiger Woods. Some of the greatest athletes of their generations have been associated with Nike. That wasn't accidental, because every time Nike connects its swoosh with an extraordinary athlete, something happens psychologically. Their achievement begins to reinforce what the symbol represents: excellence, determination, winning, greatness. Nike doesn't need to tell you, our shoes represent greatness. It shows you greatness and puts the swoosh beside it, again and again and again, until the association becomes automatic. But celebrity endorsement alone doesn't explain Nike. Plenty of brands have celebrities. Nike did something smarter. In 1984, Nike signed a young Michael Jordan. Today that sounds obvious. At the time, it wasn't. Nike wasn't Jordan's first preference, but the partnership eventually created Air Jordan, and Air Jordan became something much bigger than basketball footwear. It became culture. Sneaker culture. Fashion. Status. Collecting. Identity. Nike discovered that a shoe could become a symbol of who someone wanted to be. You didn't need Michael Jordan's ability. You could own something connected to his story. And that model became incredibly powerful. Nike wasn't simply borrowing celebrity attention. It was building mythology around its products. Then came 1988. Nike introduced "Just Do It." Think about how strange that slogan actually is for a shoe company. It doesn't mention shoes. It doesn't mention running. It doesn't mention performance technology. It doesn't even mention Nike. Because it's not really a product slogan. It's a command. Maybe you've been procrastinating. Just do it. Maybe you're scared. Just do it. Maybe you're not sure you're good enough. Just do it. 3 words that can apply to an Olympic champion, or someone trying to run their first kilometer. And that's where Nike made its biggest move. It expanded the definition of an athlete. Nike co-founder Bill Bowerman famously expressed an idea that became central to the brand. If you have a body, you are an athlete. That's massive. Because imagine if Nike positioned itself only for elite athletes. Its audience would be tiny. Instead, Nike took the emotions associated with elite sport, discipline, ambition, struggle, victory, and made them available to everybody. You're not watching the athlete anymore. You are the athlete. Maybe you're slow, maybe nobody is watching, maybe you'll never win a medal. Doesn't matter. The struggle is still yours. And Nike built its brand around that struggle. Watch many Nike advertisements and notice what's often missing. Long explanations about shoe construction, technical specifications, price comparisons, feature lists. Instead, you get stories. Someone waking up before sunrise, someone losing, someone getting back up, someone being told they're not good enough, someone trying again. And somewhere inside that story, the swoosh appears. Nike understands that people rarely form deep emotional relationships with specifications. They form them with stories. The product gives Nike a reason to enter the conversation, but the story gives you a reason to remember it. This is where the strategy gets really interesting. When you buy a performance product, you're often buying it for a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet. The version that runs every morning, the version that goes to the gym consistently, the version that's disciplined, faster, stronger, more confident. Nike doesn't just sell to who you are. Nike sells to who you want to become. That's incredibly powerful because aspiration can be more motivating than functionality. You're not buying running shoes. You're buying into the possibility that maybe, this time, you'll actually become a runner. But there's an important warning here. None of this means the product doesn't matter. Nike spends heavily on product design, sports research, materials, and performance technology. Because emotional branding cannot permanently rescue a bad product. The product has to support the promise. But once the functional standard is high enough, Nike competes somewhere else. Identity. And identity is much harder to compare on a specification sheet. Now look at everything together. The swoosh represents movement. The athletes represent greatness. The advertising represents struggle. Just do it represents action. The products enable performance, and the customer sees themselves inside the story. These aren't separate marketing tactics. They're one system. Remove the swoosh, and the story still feels like Nike. Remove the slogan, and the athlete still feels like Nike. Remove the celebrity, and an ordinary runner struggling through the rain can still feel like Nike. That's what strong branding looks like. Consistency without repetition. Different stories, same belief. And this is where brands often get it wrong. They ask, what should our slogan be? What should our logo look like? Which influencer should we use? But those are pieces. The better question is, what should people believe when they encounter our brand? Nike's answer is remarkably consistent. Your limits can be challenged. Your circumstances don't define you. You can become better, but nobody can do the work for you. So, just do it. That's why Nike can sell a shoe without spending the entire advertisement talking about the shoe. The product isn't the whole story. You are. And maybe Nike's greatest achievement isn't creating one of the world's most recognizable logos. It's making millions of people look at that logo and see a better version of themselves. That's Nike, decoded.